This is the energy update for August the 25th to the 30th. I'm Daisy Mack, and this is Spiritual Mixtape. Well, I'm honestly quite excited for August to be over. It does feel like September is not necessarily going to be a fresh start, but is beginning to be the beginning energy. Sorry to use that word twice there, it's a little messy, but that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. A little messy, and I do think that is what the energy is, even though I like parts, pretty much all of the energy this week, and even the things that are scaring people, which is the Uranus activity of it all. I quite like it. I quite like the idea of change and liberation, but everything about what's happening right now, or everything about big change, is a bit messy. It's the moment where you have all your clothes on the bed before you're packing or before you're doing a clear out, and it does look terrible before order is regained. And here's the thing about what's happening right now is I don't think we've got a ton of order, and I don't think there's a ton of order coming. But that doesn't mean that we don't feel orderly and safe inside, able to cope with what's coming. But I am a tiny bit over everything right now. Part of this is also because we have this activity with Chiron. So really there's four things I'm going to talk to you about today. Let me start there. I want to talk to you about Chiron because we love that vibe here, our wounded healer, and what's happening with our evolution of our healing and how it's affecting our personal development, let's say. That all sounded quite contrite. It's not, I'm going to be talking to you about wedding dances again real soon, so don't worry. And then there are 3 days this week, including the eclipse, that I want to talk about. So let's begin. So the first big thing really to say as overarching into the four sections I'm going to talk to you about is follow your intuition this week. And if you don't feel a clear yes or a clear no, it's not don't do it. It's slow down, listen to yourself, be sure of what you're feeling before you act. And this is to the contrary of some of the biggest signatures this week. Mercury is doing a lot this week, and that's lovely because it's going to get us into that 1 year energy and that fire horse energy. We're going to be able to articulate the things that have been sitting in our body that we haven't been able to get out, and that's going to feel great even in the most combustible of situations. So you know those situations where sometimes you'd say nothing just because, even if you didn't agree with what's going on, because you just didn't even feel like it was worth your time. You didn't feel like you could get a word in. This week, you're going to feel strong enough that you can speak in those situations. And that is going to give you a lot of self-worth. But before you do any of that, if you're not feeling that yes or that no in your body to act, don't do it. And that's what I mean by it will feel slightly contradictory to what's happening, because you might be like, well, now or never, da 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 da. But be aware of whether it really is now or never. Will you care about this in a week, a month, 10 years? Think about it alongside the Pisces eclipse cycle. Like, let's say this is the final Pisces eclipse cycle. So you won't have this one again for 17, 18, 19 years. Will this really matter in 17, 18, 19 years? Will not saying anything really matter 17, 18, 19 years, or 8 or 9 if you're working to the other side of the eclipse? Follow your intuition is really the biggest thing that I could say this week, because we're also hitting another point where surrender is coming back in. That was a big deal April, May, June. And here it is again. I'll get into why when we talk about the eclipses. But before we get there, I want to talk about Chiron, our spiritual health, and surrender over control. These are all things that we've been dealing with all year, all thinking about. But they're going to become more prevalent this week. Perhaps you've been thinking around about your health and around about how your rituals for self support the things you do or don't. Perhaps you have such a busy job, you don't have time to ground and sit and be in yourself before you go to work. That's definitely how I used to be in my old life, in my music industry job. There wasn't a ton of room, especially at the beginning of the day. So by the end of the day, you're like this mess, and it's either a brilliant mess or a terrible mess. And I think the other thing that really rang true last week is when I said, are you overwhelmed or are you overstimulated? True for the whole of this week, gets even more pronounced at the end of the week. And how does Chiron fit into all of this? Well, Chiron's doing two things this week. Our wounded healer on Sunday, but really we feel this on Monday. Chiron trines the sun, or the sun trines Chiron. And you know what I'm going to say here. This is a dance at a wedding. But what I'm going to say about this wedding is this is the bridal dance. This is the first dance of our married couple who are long lost lovers. And here they are. They've made it to the wedding and everyone's around them and everyone's supporting them. That is the kind of energy that we have at the top of the week. And there are echoes of this all the way through the week because Chiron dances with Mercury, and Mercury is a really, really big player this week. So even when Mercury is having more challenging conversations towards the end of the week when he's in a square, same with the sun is in a square with Uranus. So basically the tension of the old and the change and the liberation. We have this amazing wedding to remember. All the reasons why they got married. All the reasons why these star-crossed lovers finally got married and finally everyone cheers them on. And do I think it is as deep as that this week? Yeah, I do. I think that this week will feel, on a personal level, like reliving an important chapter of your life. And I'm 100% going to stick by that because there is something that you're learning that hasn't been fully embedded, that you don't completely know how to talk about. That was part of this last eclipse cycle, so the last 19 years, that is finally figuring itself out. And alongside that, you have this Chiron in Aries, last 8 years, and the beginning point of Chiron in Taurus. Chiron in Taurus is our wound of neglect, how we have neglected ourselves to earn money and how we are rectifying that. And the thing that's happened before that for the last 8 years is that we've become stronger in our sense of self. We've abandoned ourselves less. We have found real self-worth outside of external validation. And all of that energy comes into play this week, like a domino effect. Boom, 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 boom. So we have that framing the start of the week. Chiron and the sun in a trine. A beautiful wedding dance, whether you are holding the energy of those newly wed lovers or whether you are the happy aunt, the happy uncle, the best friend, whatever role you're playing, it's a really wonderful moment. Just think of the most perfect weather as well, outdoors, everything's worked out. And I'm going to stick with this whole wedding idea because this is the last week of August now. And, you know, come September, there's going to be change. There is a certain nostalgia that's coming through with how we are dealing with ends and beginnings at the moment. And this is a 1 year. So at some point, September through to December, that real fresh energy is going to start to kick in. But until then, we are having a nostalgic beginning or a nostalgic end. And it really is held by something that's mingling through this Pisces eclipse. And I'm going to say this when we get there, but I might as well say it twice because it's that important. But Pisces eclipse, this is the final one. But eclipses work in pairs. They work on this axis of the nodes. And Pisces works with Virgo. Virgo has one more eclipse. That will happen in February 2027. So you actually could finish this Pisces story, this 19-year cycle, in February. For me, who's gone through 2 points of trauma, which I am 100% convinced that's why I ended up with lumps in my breast, was stress, toxic stress. My journey, hopefully, should be, my health journey should end there. And of course, Virgo is health and spiritual health. And I just think on many, many levels, I'm healing. We'll also be coming to the end of that Aries in Chiron and Aries story as well. So I'm talking to you about the ends and the beginnings while we're midpoint of an end. And I think that that's true. I think that we won't understand this as a beginning until we're way through it. Way through it. We won't even really realize or register those beginning energies. So on Tuesday, Mercury conjoins the South Node and Mercury moves into Virgo. This is an echo of what's been happening over the weekend. So since the 22 activation on Saturday, where we had the Sun crossing the South Node and we had the Sun moving into Virgo. Now we echo that with Mercury doing the same thing. And what Mercury does is it triggers our thinking and our speaking. So we are going to be able to articulate something that was happening for us around that activation point. So why I said that Saturday, the 22nd, was such a strong activation point is because there were energies preceding it that were like, yep, we're kicking you into action. If you're ready to alchemize that, we're going to give you extra jet fuel coming right up behind you. So that's what Tuesday is going to feel like. And again, if you want to read this in a little bit more detail, jump into the written version of what I do. And, you know, if you want to look at the dates, there's a bit of meat in it this week. And just before we finish on the Tuesday, I want to say that the other magical thing that happens is Mercury trines Chiron. So everything that the Sun does, Mercury is doing a little step behind. And if the Sun is our vitality, who we are inside, how we fuel and power, then Mercury is partly how we do, how we present, how we embody. Mars is really the active one, but Mercury is the baby version of us, or the page or the knight in tarot, the younger version of us coming through, how we are first approaching these ideas, but make them tangible in ourselves. So that's Tuesday. And then, of course, we lead straight into Thursday's Pisces Lunar Eclipse. Now, I say it's Thursday. It's very nearly Wednesday, depending where you are in the world as well. It's like 1 minute after 12 or something on Thursday morning, Wednesday night. This is surrender. This is clarity from surrender. This is the moment that you let go based on intuition, not knowing if your decision is the right one. And the moment you do it, something comes through. Now, I want to say I don't think that fully activates just on Wednesday or Thursday. I think that this is something that will bubble for the next 2 weeks, and perhaps it doesn't completely conclude until February next year. I'm going to drop some dates into the written version, which may help you to understand. But the last time we had an eclipse at this same degree point was the 25th of August 2007. For me, a huge change point in my life, like that week. So within the eclipse window, that sent my life down a really, really different route. And I do think it's wrapping up now, but I know it's not completely done. And I don't know how that feels for you. The other thing I'd say is also August 27, 1988. I'm trying to get through this a little fast. I think I should give my own advice of slowing down. I think because we have a Mercury Cazimi on the same day, so what that means is Mercury moves through the heart of the Sun. So all of that thinking that you were doing and beginning to articulate and beginning to form words around what you have survived, what you are creating, how your wound activates your worth and what you're next going to do in your career. Those are the themes that are coming up. Because that happens on this Pisces lunar eclipse, it does feel like this is a start point, even if we can't see it. Something that you are honoring, some kind of trauma or pain, is becoming your... Hold on, I wrote this down. Pain to personal power. That's what I was trying to say in my notes. I would say that that's a big theme for the week. Probably the two things to pick up on is intuition, how you're working with it, and when you're paying attention or not paying attention to it, and pain to personal power. Anyone that feels that pain to personal power or feels resonant, even if you're not sure why, mark in your calendars now, February 20, 2027 and April 2027. Those will be important dates for you as the energy shifts, final eclipse on the Virgo axis, and the final moments of Chiron in Aries. Sense of self, finding yourself again after trauma, or finding yourself again after really being in situations that repressed your natural strengths, sweetnesses, abilities. Now, I've put in big, big letters here. Take time off. I've actually tried. I haven't been able to because of all the hyperbaric treatments that I have to go through now. I was trying to take Friday and Thursday off so that I could just have some downtime, especially with the Uranus squares, but not possible. So here is what we're going to do. If you're like me and you can't take a break from the world over these days, we are going to slow down. We are not going to be jolted around by other people's quick changes. There will be quick change in this, but you can also read it as quick change in how you're thinking and processing. It doesn't always need to be terrible externally. It could be to your advantage. This is where it becomes so useful to start to think of the world as rigged in your favor. And I know I've said this maybe 3 or 4 times in the last 6 weeks. You've been knocked around by life and it's made you believe that it's going to happen again. Your nervous system is wired to that survival mode, to getting out the way when there's conflict. Perhaps the best thing, not that I'm advocating for you to do anything dangerous, but perhaps the best thing I know for me is to feel that I'm heard. Not going to cry on you again this week, but that is definitely an emotional thing for me. And I know that when I think about this last cycle of the ways I've acted when I've been scared, or the things I've done that I'm not proud of, like none of us are perfect, and I'm definitely not perfect. When it's been about, not quite feeling good enough. Oh God, I've got some stuff to work out there. But quick change, it can be in your favor. Perhaps it's quick change in thinking around something you want to do that is out of the box, unusual. And we have to remember that the whole world is in a reset. We're really trying to figure out AI. We're really trying to figure out new jobs, laying people off jobs that are no longer. There's a lot of change out there, and it's not to be scared of. These things happen. We're in some point of a cycle, the wheel of fortune. What you have to always think, though, is that you're always on the way up in the wheel of fortune. That all you're doing is like backtracking that tiny bit of the circle there, and that everything is going to work out in your favor. And I was thinking a lot when I was journaling. So I journal before I do this, and I take the things that are meaningful to me or think about what's happening in my classes. But the thing I was thinking about, because some of the people I go to and trust and listen to have been worried about the energy that's coming in this week. And I just thought to myself, well, you know what? If everything is going to go kaput on Thursday or around Thursday, I'm going to really, really enjoy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'm going to really enjoy that wedding. I'm going to really enjoy seeing those two people get together finally. Oh, I love a romance. And I'm going to use the goodness that comes then to fuel what I am still working through. When I think about the things that I want to create, and it's very difficult to do long-term planning here. This is not a day and an age where we can do a ton of that because we really don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. So when I think about the future, hard not to do it without being nostalgic and putting on rose-tinted glasses and thinking, 20-year-old Daisy thought this was possible and 42-year-old Daisy knows it's not. When I do think about it nostalgically or with a little bit of willingness to not let fantasy in, but just to daydream, what would I be creating? How far away are those aspects of me? And how much closer are some of these other pieces? What would satisfy me? What would make me feel content? And I said to a client this morning in a private, I think it's really okay between now and October to just make yourself happy and to just go as slow as you need to go. Nothing's going to collapse or die if you don't get to it. Because there is a ton of overwhelm, and anyone that's ever burnt out will tell you never to go there. And I think that we are in danger a little bit of trying to push this 1 year in this fire horse. And maybe the fire horse is just about turning the ship. I don't know if you've ever seen a ship turn, but it takes a long time. It takes a long time. And maybe we've been going in the wrong direction for a really long time. And that this one energy, this fire horse energy, was just all about getting us to course correct. And if that's the case, I want to push everything away that is trying to get the ship to turn back. I want to go to Paradise Island, not Love Island, Paradise Island, where we can all be friends and all do fun spiritual health stuff and never have to have an operation again, never need to worry about health insurance. Want to be in that place. So I'm going to end the podcast there. I actually do have more notes. So if you want to read all of these things that I'm thinking about, you can go into the written because there are a ton of ideas. There's a lot of Mercury energy. There is a lot of overstimulation. So things land very quickly. And that's the final thing I'll say. You may be worried about how quickly things are going, but what you should be more concerned about is how quickly they're coming and whether you have enough space to take these things on, because they might be better for you. But if you're so busy holding on to the old job, the old career, the old friends, you might be missing the ship turning and Paradise Island over there. Okay, I'm going to wrap it there. If you want to jump into the free community, all the details are below. I have nothing really to tell you. One spot left for the retreat in Costa Rica. Come. I would love you to be there. It's also going to be in February 2027, on the 27th. And that is right after the eclipse. So we'll be in that eclipse window. All right, you lovely, lovely people. Oh, I'm so excited to see you next week. The 31st has the most beautiful Master 22 day and Jupiter trine. So we get to see another beautiful wedding dance before, I promise, in September. No more talking about butterflies. No more talking about weddings. I'm going to find some more fun analogies to explain this energy to you. But wedding season is almost over. Let's enjoy this wedding. And if Thursday feels like a scuffle at the bar, give yourself a duvet day. I hope you know what a duvet day is. It's like a comforter day. Just get under the comforter with a cup of tea. Love you. Bye.